Aloha, I'm Lyla Berg. Mahalo for tuning in to Island Focus. We're broadcasting this program remotely today as part one of a two-part series on Hawaii's political parties. We will gain insight into the values that define these parties and influence our participation in the electoral process. Thank you for being with us on Island Focus. I'm here today on Island Focus with Pua Ishibashi, who is one of the co-founders of the Aloha ʻāina Party. Mahalo for being with us, Pua.
Good morning, Lyla. Nice to be here.
Your party is newly sanctioned in Hawaii, and that was a great effort from a lot of people. Can you help us understand a little bit more about what your party's values are, your view for the future of Hawaii, and also how do you envision the role of government in people's lives?
You know, we started the party because we felt there was a need where we understand the fairly universal current condition of so many people, not only in Hawaii, but across the nation, maybe even the world, that they're unhappy with their candidates, they're unhappy with their own political parties. People are saying they're not happy with transparency or the lack of transparency and accountability. And we felt that we needed change within Hawaiian politics. And that is one of the big reasons why we decided that we needed to create something different and something better, something more inclusive, something transparent, and something accountable. You know, we have a party platform and we have our values. But I think if we had to summarize what this party stands for as far as values and principles, we have what's called the 5 foundational principles. The first principle is recognition of the divine. The divine is whatever it is to you, whether you're Christian, Buddhist, Muslim, you believe in the ocean and the mountains. But we feel that's can be a great source of inspiration, power, and strength. So we encourage people, whatever the divine is to you, to embrace it and to use it. That's principle number 1. The second principle is aloha kanaka. That means to truly love your neighbor. The third principle is malama Aina. We understand there's a relationship between the Aina and ourselves. And essentially, basically speaking, if we take care of the Aina will take care of us. We feel that if you take care of the Aina, there's abundance. There's abundance. We shouldn't be in the current situation that we're in, where 90% of what we need is brought in from outside the state. The fourth principle is government accountability and transparency, something that I mentioned that we feel that's lacking in current government. And our fifth principle is called ho'oponopono, and that refers to making things right within the community. And we feel that one of those things that we need to address is sovereignty in the overthrow. And that's what we're calling or labeling as ho'oponopono.
So from the perspective of who can become a member of the party, is there an ethnic requirement?
The party is open to everyone. You know, the party members are not coming out of, the air. So they're Democrats, they're Republicans, they're individuals from different parties. And there are a lot of people that's coming from that 50% that's registered and never voted. There's a lot of people that have told me, and they're like, older people, that this is the first time that they've ever voted in their lives, which is pretty profound to me. I feel like we have a kuleana when people tell us that we're voting for the first time all of their lives and they're voting for the Aloha ʻāina Party. I think we have a great responsibility in kuleana.
Well, as we wrap up our short conversation today, I want to thank you for taking a step forward and giving people who may have felt disenfranchised and felt out of the system or not, they didn't belong, that you're giving them a place.
That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to be as inclusive and welcoming to everybody, regardless of their ethnicity and their their religious beliefs, sexual orientation. We're trying to be inclusive and embracive and try to address the issues of all the people of Hawaii, not only the Native Hawaiian community, which is important to us because all three founders are Native Hawaiians. So that is a particular special interest for us. But, we want to make it clear that the party is for everybody, not only Hawaiians, and we try to address all issues, not only Hawaiian issues.
Mahalo for joining us today, Pua, and sharing some of the ideas from your party.
Thank you for the opportunity. You have a great day.
Thank you, too, for tuning into Island Focus and meeting Pua Ishibashi, who is co-founder of the Aloha Aina Party. Aloha. Here today with us on Island Focus is John Giuffre, who is the chair of the American Shopping Party. Thank you for taking the time to be with us, John.
It's an honor. I really appreciate when you extend yourself to third parties like this. It really makes a big difference, both for the conversation and for stirring, rallying the troops that feel disillusioned sometimes with the other party. It's the third parties that are able to get to the fringe of our political process. And that's really, really important about extending the engagement.
Thank you for taking the time to help us understand a little bit more about the values of the American Shopping Party, and also what does your party envision for the future of Hawaii?
Well, there's three things that the American Shopping Party is after. The first is to create a space of celebration. We were originally thinking of the American Shopping Party logo to be the happiest place in politics. Our goal was to have one day a month where we come together to celebrate the best of who we are. So here in Hawaii, it starts as a buy local movement, one day a month to get 300,000 residents committed. We will be there for small businesses, one day a month to buy locally made. There was 4 surprises. The first was I was blown away by how many people already take an extra level of committed time, money, or effort to buy locally made. Over in Honolulu, from my canvassing, I would say it runs at between 30 to 40%. Here in Hilo, it runs 50 to 60%, and down in Puna, it's like 70 to 80%. The second is the number of businesses that are actually carrying something local. The third was how many products there were. And the fourth, which is really the game changer, is how price competitive a growing number of them are becoming. This is sort of Black Friday meets America's Got Talent. For entrepreneurs, for artisans, for craftsmen, and most of all for our farmers. So it's a day of celebration. That still gives us 29 days to beat up on each other politically. So we wanted to have that happy space in the political arena. So can I ask you just a quick question here? How much is a gallon of orange juice from, let's say, Safeway?
$3.49.
It runs about 6 or 7.
Oh my!
And a gallon of gas is $3.50. The point is, and at Whole Foods it's 17. So the point is that here you have orange juice that is running at about double or 5-fold the price of gas. That orange tree is actually the new oil well. Mm-hmm. When tourism has collapsed, is that it removed the final distraction to recognizing the greatest value that we have. It's like Saudi Arabia when they said all we are is a desert and we have some oil. No. Oil is the game. It is the black gold. Food is the new black gold. And that's in the present economy. If we have the global supply chain continue convulsing and the farmers getting burnt out, flooded out, or shut out, gold won't be black oil anymore. It will be the new gold. So by this time next year, it may actually be the new gold.
So if we could summarize, as our conversation comes to an end, we could summarize the main principle of your party.
To get the government to focus in on food. So we have 5 steps. The first, we all buy. Number 2, the stores will carry. Number 3, the tourists join us. Number 4, to build out the export market. And the politics of this buy local movement is 1% of the government budget. The politicians have all the different programs that they're doing as a distraction against creating the broader picture. And so you saw under Obama, he threw in $20 billion in order to jumpstart the solar industry. We need that kind of simple, straightforward, here's our plan. We're going to get up to $15 billion to replace tourism in the next 3 years. Here's the money, and what do we need to do it? So we want to start with the goal and work our way back.
Thank you for joining us, John, and giving us a little more information on the American Shopping Party.
Thank you so much, dear. Aloha.
Appreciate you being with us in my conversation with John Giuffre, who is the chair of the American Shopping Party. Mahalo. Mahalo for tuning in to Island Focus and joining me in meeting Ed Gassman, who is the chair of the Constitution Party of Hawaii. Nice to see you again, Ed.
Nice to see you too, Lyla, and thank you for having me here. Appreciate it very much.
You know, we have a few minutes to share what your party is about, and so could you enlighten us on the values and your view of government, and also what does your party envision for Hawaii?
Thank you for asking that, Lyla. I believe that we do have a mission, and the mission is to secure the blessings for ourselves and our prosperity through the election of all levels of government, who will hopefully uphold the principles of the Declaration of the Independence, the Constitution of the United States, and the Bill of Rights. Government, its role in our lives should be limited according to the constitutional function. Mm-hmm. Any individual that wants to run for a political office, that they need to be versed on the Constitution. They should have a basic understanding on the Constitution, because their decisions, if it's not based on the supreme law of the land, then we'll have chaos. We'll have everybody coming out with laws that they think is the best thing for the people. But yet, we already have a template for this. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We did this over 200 years ago, and the forefathers were Pono, and they put together this declaration that has embodied our national consciousness. And we're able to make decisions based on something that has already been established.
Over 200 years ago, when the Constitution was created for a whole nation, how did that work into a place like Hawaii at this point in history?
What I would like to see here is that we need to educate the general population in understanding what the Constitution Party was.
So help us understand a little more, Ed, about the values and the principles of the Constitution Party.
There's a whole list of values that we have, but if I may, I could maybe encapsulate this in about seven principles. The first one, of course, and foremost, is life. We value life for all human beings from conception to the natural death. Secondly, we believe in the freedom, the liberty. Millions of people want to come to America. And it's not because America is such a beautiful place. I've been to many, many places in the world. It has more beauty than America. But they come here for the freedom of conscience and the actions to be self-governed. Number 3 is family. One husband, one wife, with their children as divinely instituted. 4th is the ability to own your property. Each individual right you should own. You have the right to own and steward that personal property without government burdens. And we need to understand and And we need to interpret according to the basic foundation, the founding fathers, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights. If everything is specifically delegated by the Constitution to the federal government and prohibited by the Constitution to the states, then the states need to be able to step in and be a part of that decision. And then, of course, we believe in American sovereignty. We need to protect ourselves, we need to protect our country, we need to protect our borders.
Well, thank you very much for helping us understand a little bit more, and I appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Lyla.
You've just had the opportunity to meet Ed Gassman, who is chair of the Constitution Party of Hawaii. Mahalo. With us today on Island Focus is Tyler Dos Santos Tam, who is the chair of the Democratic Party of Hawaii. Mahalo for taking the time to be with us, Tyler.
Of course, thanks for the invitation to participate.
You know, we have a few minutes on this show to have you explain a little bit more about the Democratic Party, what the values are, what you view the role of government, and also what does the party envision for Hawaii?
Of course. Well, the Democratic Party of Hawaii is the dominant party here and has been since 1954. And if we go back to that history of plantation workers standing up for their rights, for working people, for the conditions that they faced and the struggles that they had for their jobs, for housing, really making a living here in Hawaii, those values have carried forward to today. And so our party is really about helping everybody succeed. And that is really the motivating goal behind the policies that we're pushing currently at the legislature, whether it's increasing our minimum wage, whether it's making sure that everyone here has a quality job that lets them put a roof over their head and provide for their family, or whether it's to ensure that we have a clean environment. This is about making sure that we have the best quality of life possible here in the islands.
And when the party envisions the future of Hawaii, especially now as COVID has changed so much, what would that look like?
I think we have to go back again to 1954 and how people solved problems then. It's that they brought everyone together, from working class people on the plantations, and they went on strike, they rallied, and they brought to the table, folks from the other side to come up with solutions that would work. And here in COVID, I think those lessons are really relevant and prescient for today. We do have to bring everyone together, and people have to care about each other. And I worry that with the spike in cases, we've seen examples of folks breaking quarantine and really showing a disregard for the health and well-being of others. Moving forward, it is really about bringing people together and coming up with solutions that work not just for the individual, but for us collectively as a whole.
And you mentioned, as the dominant party for so long in Hawaii, how might that change the view of government, or how might it maintain the same?
Yes. So, one really impressive thing about the Democratic Party is we are very diverse. I mean, we have people from the very progressive side who are out there fighting for Medicare for all and, other very bold causes. And we have some other folks who, approach this with a different view and say, well, we should be very careful and deliberate in how we proceed. And I think those fights play out every year at the legislature. But they're fights worth having, and they're discussions worth having. And we can't simply adopt a knee-jerk policy. We really need to, again, bring everyone together and get them moving in the same direction. And that's what we try to do on the party level. We have these amazing internal discussions that sometimes last for hours, but they're all rooted in the idea that the product that comes out at the end has everybody's input and can move us all forward, and we can all agree on those principles and goals.
When you look at the role of the Democratic Party, whether it's the majority or has been the longevity, what might you say on behalf of your party to the listening audience?
Well, this year is not the year to sit on the sideline. This is the year to get involved. We see all around the country, I think, a movement of people who are tired of the past 4 years who want to really make a change. And that change is made by voting. It's made by volunteering. It's made by having tough conversations with your friends and neighbors about issues, about the struggles that they face in their lives. And really, we would encourage folks, even here in Hawaii, to do the same. There are really important races at stake here, whether it's a race for Honolulu mayor or individual state house or Senate races. Your vote matters. And we saw that in the primary election. Some of the races were decided by only 100 votes. So your voice does make a difference. And we really just encourage people to make sure they're registered. It's easy to do online at hawaii.gov/elections, and make the choice to be a participant and get out there and vote.
We appreciate the time you've taken, Tyler, to be with us today. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Aloha.
You've just had a chance to get to know a little better Tyler Dos Santos Tam, who is the chair of the Democratic Party of Hawaii. Mahalo. Today on Island Focus, you will enjoy meeting Pi'ilani Kaupu'iki, who is the state president for the League of Women Voters. Mahalo so much, Pi'i, for being with us today.
Oh, Lyla, it's a pleasure to be here. Mahalo for asking me.
You know, our program was focusing on the different political parties, and while the League of Women Voters is a neutral, non-political organization, you're very engaged in safeguarding the process. Could you explain a little bit more about the League and what the priorities are at this time?
Safeguarding is a good way to put it. We are volunteers who take interest in select issues that have to do with care for the community. We look at good government. We've just gotten through a struggle of years to get vote by mail in Hawaii. It's a success for us, and we're really pleased about that. The thing is that there's more and more that needs to be done just to watch over our community, which is what League volunteers do. Nationally, voting is a big protected issue. To get people to raise their voices, to participate in the process, and by feeling the value of the vote, maybe participating in legislative action, just community things, writing letters. And of course, all of that takes volunteers.
So actually what you're saying is that voting is just the beginning of being involved in the government process.
I grew up where my family would be campaigning and we'd follow around the trucks and the music in those days with campaigning. So you learn about voting and how it involves you in the community. You grow up and you find that there are things to be done. You see around yourself that you have to participate to help make well.
And those who represent us in elected office don't know everything that's going on in the community. That's why the League is involved and why volunteers are so necessary. Isn't that your perspective as well?
Absolutely. We come from all walks of life, different age groups, different perspectives, and we know that the people in office are just like us. We focus on issues that take care of the community. Our constituency is the community. It's not some particular economic issue.
And I would suspect to a state president that it would thrill you to have a chapter of the League of Women Voters on every island.
We are a membership-based organization, and I guess it fluctuates up and down nationally, but it would be really great to have people who are interested in the process of taking care of the community on each island with the League, because the League has the foundation and the infrastructure to work to communicate with elected officials. So yes, if we could get volunteers to join us from every island, it would be great.
And this is a particularly important year for the League with regards to voting.
Yes, celebrating our 100th year, along with the 100th year for the 19th Amendment. Yes, very important year, and we're celebrating.
As a nonpartisan organization, how does the League of Women Voters help the public understand what the different parties stand for?
You know, Lyla, historically, The League has organized debates and panel discussions throughout the community before elections. Candidates had an opportunity to state their cause. Right now, our unit on Hawaii Island is really active doing just that.
It must be very exciting for you to know that it's going on.
It's wonderful to know that there are volunteers on Hawaii Island, especially, that are going across that huge island, doing those kinds of things, gathering the community together.
So as we wrap up our conversation today, what message might you want the audience to hear on behalf of the League?
The League of Women Voters promotes responsible participation in government by citizens. And that means we have to have people who are willing to step up, to talk to our elected officials and work on issues that make our life better. There's this big change going on in Hawaii, especially now because of the effects of COVID. I think that we don't want to see Hawaii going back to how it was necessarily before COVID, because there was this big strain on infrastructure. This is such an opportunity for us, with the help of guidance from the community, to do better.
Mahalo for joining us today, Pi'ilani, and giving us a better idea of what the League of Women Voters is about. Mahalo.
Lyla, thank you very much for including the League of Women Voters of Hawaii on your program.
It was my pleasure to introduce you to Pi'ilani Kaupuiki, who is the state president of the League of Women Voters. Mahalo for being with us. Thank you for joining us today on Island Focus. I'm Lyla Berg. As always, the crew and staff at Ōlelo Community Media wish you aloha and malama pono. Please remember to cast your vote. See you soon.